After Blenheim by Robert Southey. Read for LibriVox.org by Tim Price on the 8th of January 2026, Kendal, England. It was a summer evening. Old Caspar's work was done, and he, before his cottage door, was sitting in the sun, and by him sported on the green his little grandchild Wilhelmine. She saw her brother Peterkin roll something large and round, which he beside the rivulet in playing there had found. He came to ask what he had found that was so large and smooth and round. Old Caspar took it from the boy, who stood expectant by, and then the old man shook his head, and with a natural sigh, "'Tis some poor fellow's skull," said he, "who fell in the great victory. I find them in the garden, for there's many here about, and often when I go to plough, the ploughshare turns them out. For many thousand men," said he, "were slain in that great victory. Now tell us what 'twas all about." Young Peterkin he cries, and little Wilhelmine looks up with wonder-waiting eyes. "Now tell us all about the war, and what they fought each other for." "It was the English," Caspar cried, "who put the French to rout, but what they fought each other for I could not well make out. But everybody said," quoth he, "that 'twas a famous victory." My father lived at Blenheim then, yon little stream hard by. They burnt his dwelling to the ground, and he was forced to fly. So with his wife and child he fled, nor had he where to rest his head. With fire and sword the country round was wasted far and wide, and many a childing mother then and newborn baby died. But things like that, you know, must be at every famous victory. They say it was a shocking sight after the field was won, for many thousand bodies here lay rotting in the sun. But things like that, you know, must be after a famous victory. Great praise the Duke of Marlborough won, and our good Prince Eugene. Why, 'twas a very wicked thing, said little Wilhelmine. "Nay, nay, my little girl," quoth he, "it was a famous victory." And everybody praised the Duke, who this great fight did win. But what good came of it at last, quoth little Peterkin? "Why, that I cannot tell," said he, "but 'twas a famous victory." End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
All on a Golden Summer Day by Arthur Macy. Read for LibriVox.org by Bruce Kachuk. All on a golden summer day, as through the leaves a single ray of yellow sunshine finds its way, so bright, so bright. The wakened birds that blithely sing seem welcoming another spring, while all the woods are murmuring, so light, so light. All on a golden summer day, when to my heart a single ray of tender kindness finds its way, so bright, so bright. Then comes sweet hope and bravely dares to break the chain that sorrow wears, and all my burdens, all my cares are light, so light. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Armenian Poet's Prayer by Alexandra Shavorian. Read for LibriVox.org by Roger Smith. The Armenian Poet's Prayer. O God, 'tis not for laurel wreaths I pray, for pompous funeral or jubilee, nor yet for fame beyond my life's decay. All these my country will accord to me. One favor, Lord of heaven, I implore, one that my land to me will never give, Grant me a crust of bread, or else such store of grace that I on air may learn to live. End of recording. This recording is in the public domain.
Atta Troll, Canto XV, by Heinrich Heine. The note at the end by Oscar Levy. Translated by Hermann George Schaffer. Read for LibriVox.org by Piotr. Hulking and enormous cliffs of deformed and twisted shapes look on me like petrified monsters of primeval times. Strange. The dingy clouds above drift like doubles bred of mist, like some silly counterfeit of these savage shapes of stone. In the distance roars the fall, through the fir trees howls the wind, 'tis a sound implacable, and as fatal as despair. Lone and dreadful lies the waste, and the black daws sit in swarms on the bleached and rotten pines, flapping with their weary wings. At my side Lascaro strides, pale and silent. I myself must like sorry madness look, by dire death accompanied. 'Tis a wild and desert place. Cursed perchance? I seem to see on the crippled roots of yonder tree a crimson smear of blood. This tree shades a little hut, cowering humbly in the earth, and the wretched roof of thatch pleads for pity in your sight. Cagots are the denizens of this hut, the last remains of a tribe which sunk in darkness, bides its bitter destiny. In the heart of every Basque you will find a rooted hate of the Cagots. 'Tis a foul relic of the days of faith. In the minster at Banyea you may see a narrow grille, once the door, the sexton told me, which the herded Cagots used. In that day all other gates were forbidden them. They crawled like two thieves into the blessed house of God to worship there. There these wretched beings sat on their lowly stools and prayed, parted, as by leprosy, from all other worshippers. But the hallowed lamps of this later century burn bright, and their light destroys the black shadows of that cruel age. While Lascaro waited there, entered I the lonely hut of the Cagot, and I clasped straight his hand in brotherhood. Likewise did I kiss his child, which unto the shrivelled breast of his wife clung fast, and sucked like some spider sick and starved. Note. Cagots. The remnant of an ancient tribe, driven out of human society as unclean, Cagot from Canis Gothicus. The Cagots may still be found in obscure parts of the French Pyrenees. They have their own language, and are distinguished by their yellow skins from the peoples of Western Europe. In the Middle Ages they were persecuted as heretics, and were excluded from all contact with their neighbours. They were forced to bear a tag upon their clothes, so that they might be known as inferiors. Even today, despite the fact that they possess the same rights as other Frenchmen, they are considered as somewhat debased and unclean. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
At Twilight Time by Arthur Macy. Read for LibriVox.org by Kachuk. At twilight time, when tolls the chime and saddest notes are falling, a lonely bird with plaintive word across the dusk is calling. Vain doth it wait for one dear mate that ne'er shall know the morrow, then sinks to rest with drooping crest in one long dream of sorrow. Dearest, when night is here, to thee I'm calling, sadly as tear on tear is slowly falling. Oh, fold me near, more near, in love enthralling. Here on thy breast, while life shall last, with thee I stay. Here will I rest, till night is past, and comes the day. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. The Book Hunter by Arthur Macy. Read for LibriVox.org by Bruce Kachuk. I've spent all my money in chasing for books that are costly and rare. I've made myself bankrupt in tracing each prize to its ultimate lair. And now I'm a ruined collector, impoverished, ragged, and thin, reduced to a vanishing spectre because of my prodigal sin. How often I've called upon Foley, the man who's a friend of the cranks, knows books that are witty or holy, and whether they're prizes or blanks. For volumes on paper or vellum, he has a most accurate eye, and always is willing to sell 'em to dreamers like me who will buy. My purse requires fences and hedges. Alas, it will never stay shut. My coat sleeves now have deckle edges. My hair is unkempt and uncut. My coat is a true first edition, and rusty from shoulder to waist. My trousers are out of condition. They're colophon, worn and defaced. My shoes have been long out of fashion. Crushed leather they both seem to be. My hat is a thing for compassion, the kind that is labeled N.D. My vest from its binding is broken. It's what the French call a relique. What I think of it cannot be spoken. Its catalogue mark is unique. I'm a book that is thumbed and untidy, the only one left of the set. I'm sure I was issued on Friday, for fate is unkind to me yet. My text has been cruelly garbled by a destiny harder than flint. But I wait for my grave to be marbled, and then I shall be out of print. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Breath of the Chinook by Robert K. Beecham. Read for LibriVox.org by Phil Schempf. When the beautiful snow covers valley and field, all the landscape knee-deep lying o'er, and the frost king the rivers and rills hath congealed from the mountains to Puget Sound shore, when the evergreen state wears a mantle of white, spotless trains of the monarchs of old, and the dark inland sea is the shadow of night in this midwinter day bright and cold, when the cedars like spectres stand out tall and straight, high against the blue arch of the sky, and the hemlocks and firs, all unused to the weight of their white robes, in agony sigh. When the cattle unhoused and the wild deer in vain seek a wisp or a brake or a blade, when the beautiful snow hath cast Washington rain for the nonce out of sight in the shade, comes the gentle Chinook through the coast mountain wall, from the Pacific's vast surf-beaten strand, soft of touch with a step like an angel's footfall, and she breathes her warm breath o'er the land. Lo, the monarchs of old, in their white togas free, high enthroned, glory-crowned, and serene. But from mountains bold down to the isle-jewelled sea, all the forests and meadows are green. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Christmas Night in St. Peter's by Helen Hunt Jackson. Read for LibriVox.org by Larry Wilson. Low on the marble floor I lie, I am alone. Though friendly voices whisper nigh, and foreign crowds are passing by, I am alone. Great hymns float through the shadowed aisles. I hear a slow refrain, "Forgive them, for they know not what they do." With tender joy all others thrill, I have but tears. The false priests' voices, high and shrill, reiterate the peace, goodwill. I have but tears. I hear anew the nails and scourge. Then come the low, sad words, "Forgive them, for they know not what they do."
Close by my side the poor souls kneel. I turn away. Half-pitying looks at me they steal. They think because I do not feel I turn away. Ah, if they knew how following them where'er they go, I hear, "Forgive them, for they know not what they do." Above the organ's sweetest strains I hear the groans of prisoners who lie in chains. So near and in such mortal pains I hear the groans. But Christ walks through the dungeons of St. Angelo, and says, "Forgive them, for they know not what they do." And now the music sinks to sighs, the lights grow dim, the pastorella's melodies in lingering echoes float and rise. The lights grow dim, more clear and true in this sweet silence seem to flow the words, "Forgive them, for they know not what they do." The dawn swings incense, silver gray. The night is past. Now comes triumphant God's full day. No priest, no church can bar its way. The night is past. How on this blue of God's great banner blaze and glow the words, "Forgive them, for they know not what they do." Rome, December 26, 1868. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Donkey by G.K. Chesterton. Read for LibriVox.org by Rebecca Joanne Currie. The Donkey. When fishes flew and forests walked, and figs grew upon thorn, some moment when the moon was blood, then surely I was born. With monstrous head and sickening cry, and ears like errant wings, the devil's walking parody on all four-footed things. The tattered outlaw of the earth, of ancient crooked will, starve, scourge, deride me, I am dumb. I keep my secret still. Fools, for I also had my hour, one far fierce hour and sweet. There was a shout about my ears, and palms before my feet. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
A Dream by T.F. Young. Read for LibriVox.org by Theo Douglas. Seattle, Washington, January 2026. One night, while peaceful in my bed I lay, unwitting what befell, by Morpheus's arms clasped close, in blissful rest, I slumbered well, when suddenly unto my ears there came a dreadful, piercing sound, so strange into my startled mind, I left my bed with single bound, and then, transfixed unto the floor, I stood in terror pinioned there, with drops of sweat upon my brow, and eyes with fixed and rigid stare. I listened for the dreadful sound, which brought such terror to my brain. And then, with wildly beating heart, I heard the fearful noise again. Affrighted yet, I heard the noise, which, though 'twas modified in tone, it terror brought into my heart, and from my lips it drew a groan. For horror yet was in the sound, that froze my blood and fixed my eye. It seemed to me a demon's shriek, or wailing banshee's boding cry. But soon my eyes unfixed their stare. My senses clearer now became, and borne into my sharpened ear, I heard a sound, but not the same. Within the plastered wall nearby, I heard a grinding, ringing tone. A mouse was gnawing at a board. That was the sound, and that alone. I waited then, and listened long, but naught there came into my ear, save this. And lying down again, I wondered what had caused my fear. And then I thought, 'tis thus with us, we mortals, who, with darkened sight see things, and fearful sounds do hear, which cause our narrow senses fright. But when we waken from this dream, with senses joined to earth no more, our brightened faculties will see no fear, where fear there was before. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Epitaph by E. Cummings. Read for LibriVox.org by loubet. Tumbling hair picker of buttercups, violets, dandelions, and the big bullying daisies. Through the field, wonderful, with eyes a little sorry. Another comes, also picking flowers. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
God in a Heart by A. Mary F. Robinson. Read for LibriVox.org by Larry Wilson. Once, where unentered temple stood at noon, no sun-ray pierced the dim, unwindowed aisle, and all the flooding whiteness of the moon could only bathe the outer peristyle. And as we passed, we praised the temple front. But one went in. With careless feet he trod the long-forgotten pavement, mossed and blunt, and found the altar of the unprayed-to God. He reached and lit the tapers of the shrine, and let their radiance flood the vault obscure. But ah, upon what evil things to shine, blind, crawling, chill, discolored, and impure. And as the light burns clearer through the gloom, more foul, more deathly shows the illumined room. O light of God, lit in the heart of man, more welcome than the well in desert sands, we bless thee, fallen hither for a span, to glorify the temple made with hands. We did not deem how foul the temple was, until thou visitedst the untended shrine. Thy glory is not peace for us, alas, illumination tragic and divine. Yet unrelenting pour, revealing light, scare and annihilate all our blind desires, shine through our thoughts, and purify the night, and burn us clean with thy transcendent fires, until thou leavest us renewed and whole, thy mortal temple of the transient soul. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Heredity by Violet McDougall. Read for LibriVox.org by Newgatenovelist. Our apish forebears clung to trees in times far antedating these. In sleep would cling with hands and toes. They wore no high-heeled pumps nor hose, so Darwin says. I guess he knows. If they had lost their hold, you see, and toppled down from out their tree, wild animals were all around to grab them when they hit the ground, with teeth all primed and set to gnash, through cutlet, steak, or fresh ape hash. Careers were ended with a crash. But those who wakened with a start did not become ape à la carte. They locked their toes in tighter hold, the fit survivors, we are told, lived to become both grey and old. We dream of falling while in bed, we waken with a start instead. The instinct that our forebears knew is handed down to me and you. We might have missed the whole big show if Grandpa Ape, so long ago, had not waked just in time, you know. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
In the Highlands by Robert Louis Stevenson. Read for LibriVox.org by Ike Sherr. In the Highlands, in the country places, where the old plain men have rosy faces, and the young fair maidens quiet eyes, where essential silence cheers and blesses, and forever in the hill recesses her more lovely music broods and dies. Oh, to mote again where erst I haunted, where the old red hills are bird enchanted, and the low green meadows bright with sward. And when even dies, the million tinted, and the night has come, and planets glinted, lo, the valley hollow lamp bestarred. Oh, to dream! Oh, to awake and wonder there, and with delight to take and render through the trance of silence quiet breath. Lo, for there among the flowers and grasses only the mightier movement sounds and passes. Only winds and rivers, life and death. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
It's a Gay Old World by Anonymous, read for LibriVox.org by mleigh. It's a gay old world when you're gay, and a glad old world when you're glad. But whether you play or go toiling away, it's a sad old world when you're sad. It's a grand old world if you're great, and a mean old world if you're small. It's a world full of hate for the foolish who prate of the uselessness of it all. It's a beautiful world to see, or it's dismal in every zone. The thing it must be in its gloom or its glee depends on yourself alone. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Life and Art by Aldous Huxley. Read for LibriVox.org by Winston Tharp. You have sweet flowers for your pleasure. You laugh with the bountiful earth in its richness of summer treasure. Where now are your flowers and your mirth? Petals and cadenced laughter, each in a dying fall, droop out of life, and after is nothing. They were all. But we from the death of roses that three suns perfume and gild with a kiss, till the fourth discloses a withered wreath, have distilled the fullness of one rare phial, whose nimble life shall outrun the circling shadow on the dial, outlast the tyrannous sun. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Ma's Tools by Anonymous. Read for LibriVox.org by mleigh. At home it seems to be the rule, Pa never has the proper tool or knack to fix things. For the stunt that stumps Ma, though, you'll have to hunt. The caster on the table leg fell out. Pa said a wooden peg would fix it up, but Ma kept mum and fixed it with a wad of gum. We could scarce open our front door, it stuck so tight, and Pa, he swore he'd buy a plane as big as life. Ma fixed it with the carving knife. The bureau drawer got stuck one day, and push or pull 'twas there to stay. Says Pa, some day 'twill shrink, I hope. Ma fixed it with a piece of soap. The window shade got out of whack, 'twould not pull down nor yet roll back. Pa says no one can fix that thing. Ma fixed it with a piece of string. I broke the stove door hinge one day. 'Twas cracked before, though anyway. Pa said we'd put a new door in. Ma grabbed her hair and got a pin. The bathtub drain got all clogged up. Pa bailed the tub out with a cup. He had a dreadful helpless look. Ma cleaned it with a crochet hook. One day our old clock wouldn't start. Pa said he'd take it all apart some day and fix the old machine. Ma soused the works in gasoline. The garden gate latch broke one day. Cows ate our sweet corn up. And say, Pa scolded like a house afire. Ma fixed the latch up with hay wire. So when my things gets out of fix, do I ask Pa to mend them? Nix. But Ma just grabs what's near at hand and togs things up to beat the band. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Moonlight Land by Violet McDougall. Read for LibriVox.org by Newgatenovelist. There is a silver silent land where white moon flowers grow, where long-leaved silver shadows lie across still waters, and the flow of shadow rivers endlessly goes on, and all the sky is pale with light, and in the stream reflections of the drifting stars go sliding past, and they who dream asleep or waking enter here, through arches of cold carven stone and gates with pallid marble bars, they drift together or alone through pale lit pathways, and the vast and never-ending silence near is like a strange compelling hand, and there are gardens, moonlit, still, of terraced silence, with white hounds to guard in ghostly stillness till their soundless hunting bugle sounds, and underneath the quiet wind the long grass silvers, and behind and straight across, and all before, the shallow moonlight lies, and they who drift in pale canoes down soundless streams with hands that mar reflected skies, watch how the slow sands shift and shift with wonder in their eyes. And through their never-ending dreams a shadowed glory strays and slides along the idle sand through drifting endless days with dwellers in the moonlight land. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Morning by Heredity. Read for LibriVox.org by Roger Smith. Morning. Day dawned. Bright tongues of scarlet flame shot up into the sky. The livid heavens blushed and became a sea of crimson dye. The sun his fiery beams unrolled like strands of colored thread, embroidered all the clouds with gold and blue and green and red. Then o'er the mountains full in view nature's great monarch rose, and from his tent of royal blue hurled darts upon his foes. Eternal foe of gloom and night, on high he raised his arm, his shield of gold all shining bright, sheltered the world from harm. End of recording. This recording is in the public domain.
Mountain Lion by D.H. Lawrence. Read for LibriVox.org by Brian Gallegos. Climbing through the January snow into the Lobo Canyon. Dark grow the spruce trees. Blue is the balsam. Water sounds still unfrozen. And the trail is still evident. Men. 2 men. Men, the only animal in the world to fear. They hesitate. We hesitate. They have a gun. We have no gun. Then we all advance to meet. 2 Mexicans, strangers, emerging out of the dark and snow and inwardness of the Lobo Valley. What are they doing here on this vanishing trail? What is he carrying? Something yellow. A deer? ¿Qué tiene, amigo? León. He smiles, foolishly, as if he were caught doing wrong. And we smile, foolishly, as if we didn't know. He is quite gentle and dark-faced. It is a mountain lion, a long, long, slim cat, yellow like a lioness, dead. He trapped her this morning, he says, smiling foolishly. Lift up her face, her round, bright face, bright as frost, her round, fine-fashioned head, with 2 dead ears, and stripes in the brilliant frost of her face, sharp, fine, dark rays, dark, keen, fine rays in the brilliant frost of her face, beautiful, dead eyes. Hermoso es! They go out towards the open. We go on into the gloom of Lobo, and above the trees I found her lair, a hole in the blood-orange brilliant rocks that stick up, a little cave, and bones and twigs and a perilous ascent. So she will never leap up that way again, with the yellow flash of a mountain lion's long shoot, and her bright striped frost face will never watch any more, out of the shadow of the cave in the blood-orange rock, above the trees of the Lobo dark valley mouth. Instead, I look out, and out to the dim of the desert, like a dream never real, to the snow of the Sangre de Cristo mountains, the ice of the mountains of Picorus, and near across, at the opposite steep of snow, green trees motionless, standing in snow like a Christmas toy. And I think, in this empty world, there was room for me in a mountain lion. And I think in the world beyond, how easily we might spare 1 million or 2 of humans, and never miss them. Yet what a gap in the world! The missing white frost face of that slim yellow mountain lion. Lobo. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Nature's Child by Henry David Thoreau. Read for LibriVox.org by Brian Gallegos. I am the autumnal sun. With autumn gales my race is run. When will the hazel put forth its flowers, or the grape ripen under my bowers? When will the harvest or the hunter's moon turn my midnight into mid-noon? I am all sere and yellow, and to my core mellow. The mast is dropping within my woods, the winter is lurking within my moods, and the rustling of the withered leaf is the constant music of my grief. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
New Year Reflections by Jerry Miles Humphrey. Read for LibriVox.org by Larry Wilson. We're one more season nearer our long eternal home, and one brief year of service is now forever gone. We're one more season nearer the ending of the fight, when war will cease forever, the wrong against the right. We're one more season nearer that vast and dismal main, and much in need of reapers to reap the golden grain. We're one more season nearer our long and lonesome sleep, beneath the sighing willow or in the briny deep. We're one more season nearer the close of gospel day, when men shall quake with terror and to the mountains pray. We're one more season nearer the great tribunal throne, where Christ shall bid us welcome, or with contempt disown. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Ode on Solitude by Alexander Pope. Read for LibriVox.org by Nascimento. Happy the man, whose wish and care a few paternal acres bound, content to breathe his native air in his own ground, whose herds with milk, whose fields with bread, whose flocks supply him with attire, whose trees in summer yield him shade, in winter fire. Blessed, who can unconcernedly find hours, days, and years slide soft away, in health of body, peace of mind, quiet by day, sound sleep by night, study and ease together mixed, sweet recreation and innocence, which most does please, with meditation. Thus let me live, unseen, unknown. Thus unlamented let me die, steal from the world, and not a stone tell where I lie. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Old Bachelors Sale by Anonymous. Read for LibriVox.org by mleigh. I dreamed a dream in the midst of my slumbers, and as fast as I dreamed it was coined into numbers. My thoughts ran along in such beautiful meter, I'm sure I ne'er saw any poetry sweeter. It seemed that a law had been recently made, that a tax on old bachelors' pates should be laid, and in order to make them all willing to marry, the tax was as large as a man could well carry. The bachelors grumbled and said 'twas no use, 'twas horrid injustice and horrid abuse, and declared that to save their own heart's blood from spilling, of such a vile tax they would not pay a shilling. But the rulers determined them still to pursue, so they set all the old bachelors up at vendue. A crier was sent through the town to and fro, to rattle his bell and his trumpet to blow, and to call out to all he might meet in his way, "Ho, 40 old bachelors sold here today." And presently all the old maids in the town, each in her very best bonnet and gown, from 30 to 60, fair, plain, red, and pale, of every description, all flocked to the sale. The auctioneer then in his labor began, and called out aloud as he held up a man, "How much for a bachelor who wants to buy?" In a twinkle every lady responded, "I, I." In short, at a highly extravagant price, the bachelors were all sold off in a trice, and 40 old maids, some younger, some older, each lugged an old bachelor home on her shoulder. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Old Cry by John G. Nyhart. Read by Phil Schempf. O mourner in the silence of the hills, O thing of ancient griefs, art thou a wolf? I heard a cry that shook me. Was it thine? Low in the mystic purple of the west, the weird moon hangs, a tarnished silver slug. Vast, vast the hollow, empty night curves down, stabbed with the glass-like glinting of the stars. And, save when that wild cry grows up anon, no sound but this dull murmur of the hush, the winter hush. Hark, once again thy cry! thy strange, sharp, ice-like, tenuous complaint, as though the spirit of this frozen waste, pinched with the cruel frost, yearned summerward. I know thou art a wolf that criest so. Though hidden in the shadow, I can see thy 4 feet huddled in the numbing frost, thy snout breath-whitened, pointing to the sky. Poor pariah of the plains, I know 'tis thou. And yet, I heard a kinsman shout. Down through the intricate centuries it came, a far-blown cry. From old-world graves it grew, up through the tumbled walls of ancient realms, up through the lizard-haunted heaps of stone, up through the choking ashes of old fanes, the pitiful debris where grandeur dwelt. Out of the old-world wilderness it grew. The cry I know, and I have heard my kin. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
On News by Thomas Traherne. Read for LibriVox.org by Public Domain Scholar. On News. News from a foreign country came, as if my treasure and my wealth lay there. So much it did my heart inflame, 'twas wont to call my soul into mine ear, which thither went to meet the approaching sweet, and on the threshold stood to entertain the unknown good. It hovered there as if 'twould leave mine ear, and was so eager to embrace the joyful tidings as they came, 'twould almost leave its dwelling place to entertain the same. As if the tidings were the things, my very joys themselves, my foreign treasure, or else did bear them on their wings. With so much joy they came, with so much pleasure, my soul stood at that gate, to recreate itself with bliss, and to be pleased with speed. A fuller view it fain would take, yet journeys back would make unto my heart, as if 'twould would fain go out to meet, yet stay within, to fit a place, to entertain, and bring the tidings in. What sacred instinct did inspire my soul in childhood with a hope so strong? What secret force moved my desire to expect my joys beyond the seas so young? Felicity I knew was out of view, and being here alone, I saw that happiness was gone from me. For this I thirsted absent bliss, and thought that sure beyond the seas, or else in something near at hand. I knew not yet, since naught did please I knew my bliss did stand. But little did the infant dream that all the treasure of the world were by, and that himself was so the cream and crown of all which round about did lie. Yet thus it was, the gem, the diadem, the ring enclosing all that stood upon this earthly ball. The heavenly eye, much wider than the sky, wherein they all included were, the glorious soul that was the king, made to possess them, did appear a small and little thing. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Pirate Song by Violet McDougall. Read for LibriVox.org by Newgatenovelist. They say that the days are past and gone of Kidd and his pirate crew, of fabulous gain on the Spanish main, where the skull and crossbones flew. But I lie and dream on the docks at night, by the water that laps and croons, of pirate bands, and of foreign lands, and the ring of bright doubloons, of swarthy pirates with scarlet cloaks, and hoops of gold in their ears, of ready knives, and of lawless lives, of black-browed buccaneers, of cutlass and broadsword and gleaming dirk, of treasure and hidden gold, of storm-swept decks and of salvaged wrecks, with casks of rum in the hold, of vessels trapped in the open seas and rammed by the pirate's keel, of roaring nights and of fierce waged fights, and the ring of steel on steel. They say that the pirate's day is past, and his lawless life on the sea, that never again on the Spanish main will the black flag flutter free. But my whole life long I shall hear this song that the water has crooned to me. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Snow by Eliza Cook, read for LibriVox.org by Phil Schempf. Brave winter and I shall ever agree, though a stern and frowning gaffer is he. I like to hear him with hail and rain come tapping against the window pane. I joy to see him come marching forth, begirt with the icicle gems of the north. But I like him best when he comes bedight in his velvet robes of stainless white. A cheer for the snow, the drifting snow, smoother and purer than beauty's brow. The creature of thought scarce likes to tread on the delicate carpet so richly spread. With feathery wreaths the forest is bound, and the hills are with glittering diadems crowned. 'Tis the fairest scene we can have below. Sing welcome, then, to the drifting snow. The urchins gaze with eloquent eye to see the flakes go dancing by. In the thick of the storm how happy are they to welcome the first deep snowy day. Shouting and pelting, what bliss to fall half smothered beneath the well-aimed ball. Men of fourscore, did ye ever know such sport as ye had in the drifting snow? I'm true to my theme, for I loved it well, when the gossiping nurse would sit and tell the tale of the geese, though hardly believed. I doubted and questioned the words that deceived. I rejoiced in it still, and loved to see the ermine mantle on tower and tree. 'Tis the fairest scene we can have below. Hurrah! Then hurrah for the drifting snow! End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Somnambulist by William Wordsworth, read for LibriVox.org by Tim Price. The 7th of January 2026, Kendal, England. List, ye who pass by Lyulph's tower, at eve, how softly then doth air of force, that torrent's hoarse, speak from the woody glen. Fit music for a solemn vale, and holier seems the ground to him who catches on the gale the spirit of a mournful tale, embodied in the sound. Not far from that fair site whereon the pleasure house is reared, as story says, in antique days a stern-browed house appeared, foil to a jewel rich in light there set, and guarded well, cage for a bird of plumage bright, sweet-voiced, nor wishing for a flight beyond her native dell. To win this bright bird from her cage, to make this gem their own, came barons bold with store of gold, and knights of high renown. But one she prized, and only one, Sir Eglamour was he. Full happy season, when was known, ye dales and hills, to yon alone their mutual loyalty. Known chiefly, Eire, to thy glen, thy brook and bowers of holly, where passion caught what nature taught, that all but love is folly, where fact with fancy stooped to play, doubt came not, nor regret, to trouble hours that winged their way, as if through an immortal day whose sun could never set. But in old times love dwelt not long, sequestered with repose, best throve the fire of chaste desire, fanned by the breath of foes. A conquering lance is beauty's test, and proves the lover true. So spake Sir Eglamour, and pressed the drooping Emma to his breast, and looked a blind adieu. They parted, well with him it fared, through widespread regions errant, a night of proof in love's behoof, the thirst of fame his warrant, and she her happiness can build on woman's quiet hours, though faint compared with spear and shield, the solace beads and masses yield, and needlework and flowers. Yet blessed was Emma when she heard her champion's praise recounted, though brain would swim and eyes grow dim, and high her blushes mounted, or when a bold heroic lay she warbled from full heart, delightful blossoms for the May of absence, but they will not stay, born only to depart. Hope wanes with her, while lustre fills whatever path he chooses, as if his orb, that owns no curb, received the light hers loses. He comes not back, an ampler space requires for nobler deeds. He ranges on from place to place, till of his doings is no trace, but what her fancy breeds. His fame may spread, but in the past her spirit finds its centre. Clear sight she has of what he was, and that would now content her. Still is he my devoted knight? The tear in answer flows. Month falls on month with heavier weight. Day sickens round her, and the night is empty of repose. In sleep she sometimes walked abroad, deep sighs with quick words blending, like that pale queen whose hands are seen with fancied spots contending. But she is innocent of blood. The moon is not more pure, that shines aloft, while through the wood she thrids her way, the sounding flood her melancholy lure. While mid the firm brake sleeps the doe, and owls alone are waking, in white arrayed glides on the maid, the downward pathway taking, that leads her to the torrent's side, and to a holly bower, by whom on this still night descried, by whom in that lone place espied, by thee, Sir Eglamour. A wandering ghost, so thinks the knight, his coming step has thwarted, beneath the boughs that heard their vows, within whose shade they parted. Hush, hush, the busy sleeper see, perplexed her fingers seem, as if they from the holly tree green twigs would pluck as rapidly, flung from her to the stream. What means this spectre? Why intent to violate the tree, thought Eglamour, by which I swore unfading constancy? Here am I, and tomorrow's sun, to her I left, shall prove that bliss is ne'er so surely won, as when a circuit has been run of valour, truth, and love. So from the spot whereon he stood, he moved with stealthy pace, and, drawing nigh, with his living eye, he recognized the face, and whispers caught, and speeches small, some to the green-leaf tree, some muttered to the torrent fall. Roar on, and bring him with thy call, I heard, and so may he. Soul shattered was the knight, nor knew if Emma's ghost it were, or bold in shade, or if the maid, her very self, stood there. He touched, what followed who shall tell? The soft touch snapped the thread of slumber, shrieking back she fell, and the stream whirled her down the dell along its foaming bed. In plunged the knight, where on firm ground the rescued maiden lay. Her eyes grew bright with blissful light, confusion passed away. She heard, ere to the throne of grace her faithful spirit flew. His voice beheld his speaking face, and, dying from his own embrace, she felt that he was true. So was he reconciled to life? Brief words may speak the rest. Within the dell he built a cell, and there was sorrow's guest. In hermit's weeds repose he found, from vain temptations free. Beside the torrent dwelling bound, by one deep heart-controlling sound, and awed to piety. Wild stream of error, hold thy course, nor fear memorial lays, where clouds that spread in solemn shade are edged with golden rays. Dear art thou to the light of heaven, though minister of sorrow. Sweet is thy voice at pensive even, and thou, in lovers' hearts forgiven, shalt take thy place with Yarrow. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Song of the Partridge by Colmetus Verdapet. Read for LibriVox.org by Roger Smith. The Song of the Partridge. The sun has touched the mountain's crest. The partridge rises from her nest, and down the hillside, tripping fast, greets all the flowers as she goes past. I breakfast on my roof at morn, when to my ear her voice is borne. When swinging from the mountainside, she chirps her song in all her pride. Thy nest is dewed with summer showers, basil, narcissus, lotus flowers, enamel lit and breathe to thee perfumes of immortality. Soft feathers all thy body deck, small is thy beak and long thy neck. Thy wings are worked with colours rare, the dove is not so sweet and fair. The little partridge flies aloft upon the branch and warbles soft. He cheers the world and heals the smart when sees a blood well in the heart. End of recording. This recording is in the public domain.
Sonnets from the Portuguese by Elizabeth Barrett Browning. Read for LibriVox.org by Arden. January 28, 2025. 1. I thought once how Theocritus had sung of these sweet years, the dear and wished-for years, who each one in a gracious hand appears to bear a gift for mortals, old or young. And as I mused it in his antique tongue, I saw, in gradual vision through my tears, the sweet sad years, the melancholy years, those of my own life who by turns had flung a shadow across me, straightway I was ware. So weeping, how a mystic shape did move behind me and drew me backward by the hair. And a voice said in mastery while I strove, Guess now who holds thee? Death, I said, but there the silver answer rang, not death, but love. 2. But only 3 in all God's universe have heard this word thou hast said, himself beside thee speaking, and me listening, and replied, one of us, that was God, and laid the curse so darkly on my eyelids as to immerse my sight from seeing thee, that if I had died, the death weights placed there would have signified less absolute exclusion, nay, is worse from God than from all others, O my friend. Men could not part us with their worldly jars, nor these seas change us, nor the tempests bend. Our hands would touch for all the mountain bars, and heaven being rolled between us at the end, we should but vow the faster for the stars. 3. Unlike are we, unlike, O princely heart, unlike our uses and our destinies. Our ministering 2 angels look surprise on one another as they strike athwart their wings in passing. Thou, bethink thee, art a guest for queens to social pageantries, with gauges from 100 brighter eyes than tears even can make mine to play thy part of chief musician. What hast thou to do with looking from the lattice lights at me? a poor, tired, wandering singer, singing through the dark and leaning up a cypress tree. The chrism is on thine head, on mine the dew, and death must dig the level where these agree. 4. Thou hast thy calling to some palace floor, most gracious singer of high poems, where the dancers will break footing from the care of watching up thy pregnant lips for more. And dost thou lift this house's latch to pour for hand of thine? And canst thou think and bear to let thy music drop here unaware, in folds of golden fullness at my door? Look up and see the casement broken in, the bats and owlets builders in the roof. My cricket chirps against thy mandolin. Hush, call no echo up in further proof of desolation. There is a voice within that weeps as thou must sing, alone, aloof. 5. I lift my heavy heart up solemnly, as once Electra her sepulchral urn, and looking in thine eyes, I overturn the ashes at thy feet. Behold and see what a great heap of grief lay hid in me, and how the red wild sparkles dimly burn through the ashen grayness. If thy foot in scorn could tread them out to darkness utterly, it might be well perhaps, but if instead thou wait beside me for the wind to blow the grey dust up, those laurels on thine head, O my beloved, will not shield thee so, that none of all the fires shall scorch and shred the hair beneath. Stand further off then, go. 6. Go from me, yet I feel that I shall stand henceforward in thy shadow, nevermore, alone upon the threshold of my door. Of individual life I shall command the uses of my soul, nor lift my hand serenely in the sunshine as before, without the sense of that which I forbore. Thy touch upon the palm, the widest land, doom takes to part us, leaves thy heart and mine, with pulses that beat double. What I do and what I dream include thee, as the wine must taste of its own grapes. And when I sue God for myself, he hears that name of thine, and sees within my eyes the tears of two. 7. The face of all the world is changed, I think, since first I heard the footsteps of thy soul move still, oh still beside me, as they stole betwixt me and the dreadful outer brink of obvious death, where I, who thought to sink, was caught up into love, and taught the whole of life in a new rhythm. The cup of dole God gave for baptism I am fain to drink, and praise its sweetness sweet with thee anear. The names of country heaven are changed away, for where thou art or shalt be, there or here. And this lute and song, loved yesterday, the singing angels know, are only dear, because thy name moves right in what they say. 8. What can I give thee back, O liberal and princely giver, who hast brought the gold and purple of thine heart, unstained, untold, and laid them on the outside of the wall, for such as I to take or leave withal, in unexpected largesse? Am I cold, ungrateful, that for these most manifold high gifts I rendered nothing back at all? Not so, not cold, but very poor instead. Ask God who knows, for frequent tears have run the colors from my life, and left so dead and pale a stuff, it were not fitly done to give the same as pillow to thy head. Go farther, let it serve to trample on. 9. Can it be right to give what I can give? To let thee sit beneath the fall of tears, as salt as mine, and hear the sighing years, re-sighing on my lips renunciative, through those infrequent smiles which fail to live, for all thy adjurations, O my fears, that this can scarce be right. We are not peers, so to be lovers, and I own and grieve that givers of such gifts as mine are, must be counted with the ungenerous. Out, alas! I will not soil thy purple with my dust, nor breathe my poison on thy Venice glass, nor give thee any love which were unjust. Beloved, I only love thee, let it pass. 10. Yet love, mere love, is beautiful indeed, and worthy of acceptation. Fire is bright, let temple burn or flax, an equal light leaps in the flame from cedar, plank, or weed. And love is fire, and when I say it need, I love thee, mark, I love thee, in thy sight. I stand transfigured, glorified aright, with conscience of the new rays that proceed out of my face toward thine. There's nothing low in love, when love the lowest, meanest creatures, who love God, God accepts while loving so. And what I feel across the inferior features of what I am doth flash itself and show how that great work of love enhances natures. 11. And therefore if to love can be desert, I am not all unworthy, cheeks as pale as these you see, and trembling knees that fail to bear the burden of a heavy heart. This weary minstrel life that once was girt to climb Aornus, and can scarce avail to pipe now 'gainst the valley nightingale a melancholy music. Why advert to these things? O beloved, it is plain I am not of thy worth nor for thy place, and yet because I love thee I obtain from that same love this vindicating grace, to live on still in love and yet in vain, to bless thee yet renounce thee to thy face. 12. Indeed this very love which is my boast, and which, when rising up from breast to brow, doth crown me with a ruby large enow, to draw men's eyes and prove the inner cost. This love even all my worth, to the uttermost, I should not love withal, unless that thou hadst set me an example, shown me how, when first thine earnest eyes with mine were crossed, and love called love. And thus I cannot speak of love even as a good thing of my own. My soul hath snatched up mine all faint and weak, and placed it by thee on a golden throne. And that I love, O soul, we must be meek, is by thee only, whom I love alone. 13. And wilt thou have me fashion into speech the love I bear thee, finding words enough, and hold the torch out while the winds are rough, between our faces to cast light on each? I drop it at thy feet. I cannot teach my hand to hold my spirit so far off from myself, me, that I should bring thee proof, and words of love hid in me out of reach. Nay, let the silence of my womanhood commend my woman love to thy belief, seeing that I stand on one, however wooed, and rend the garment of my life, in brief, by a most dauntless, voiceless fortitude, lest one touch of this heart convey its grief. 14. If thou must love me, let it be for naught, except for love's sake only. Do not say, I love her for her smile, her look, her way of speaking gently, for a trick of thought that falls in well with mine, and certes brought a sense of pleasant ease on such a day. For these things in themselves, beloved, may be changed or changed for thee, and love so wrought may be unwrought so. Neither love me for thine own dear pities wiping my cheeks dry. A creature might forget to weep who bore thy comfort long, and lose thy love thereby. But love me for love's sake, that evermore thou mayst love on through love's eternity. 15. Accuse me not, beseech thee, that I wear too calm and sad a face in front of thine. For we two look two ways, and cannot shine with the same sunlight on our brow and hair. On me thou lookest with no doubt and care, as on a bee shut in a crystalline, since sorrow hath shut me safe in love's divine. And to spread wing and fly in the outer air were most impossible failure, if I strove to fail so. But I look on thee, beholding, besides love, the end of love, hearing oblivion beyond memory, as one who sits and gazes from above, over the rivers to the bitter sea. 16. And yet, because thou overcomest so, because thou art more noble and like a king, thou canst prevail against my fears and fling thy purple round me, till my heart shall grow too close against thine heart thenceforth to know how it shook when alone. Why, conquering may prove as lordly and complete a thing in lifting upward as in crushing low. And as a vanquished soldier yields his sword to him who lifts him from the bloody earth, even so, beloved, I at last record, here ends my strife. If thou invite me forth, I rise above abasement at the word. Make thy love larger to enlarge my worth. 17. My poet, thou canst touch on all the notes God set between his after and before, and strike up and strike off the general roar of the rushing world's a melody that floats in a serene air purely antidotes of medicated music, answering for mankind's forlornest uses. Thou canst pour from thence into their ears God's will devotes, thine to such ends, and mine to wait on thine. How, dearest, wilt thou have me for most use? A hope to sing by gladly, or a fine, sad memory with thy songs to interfuse? A shade in which to sing, of palm or pine, a grave on which to rest from singing, choose. 18. I never gave a lock of hair away to a man, dearest, except this to thee, which now upon my fingers thoughtfully I wring out to the full brown length, and say, take it, my day of youth went yesterday, My hair no longer bounds to my foot's glee, nor plant I it from rose or myrtle tree, as girls do any more. It only may now shade on two pale cheeks the mark of tears, taut drooping from the head that hangs aside, through sorrow's trick. I thought the funeral shears would take this first, but love is justified. Take it thou, finding pure from all those years the kiss my mother left here when she died. 19. The soul's Rialto hath its merchandise. I barter curl for curl upon that mart, and from my poet's forehead to my heart receive this lock which outweighs argosies, as purply black as erst the Pindar's eyes, the dim purpureal tresses gloomed athwart the 9 white muse brows. For this counterpart, the bay-crowned shade, beloved, I surmise, still lingers on thy curl, it is so black. Thus, with a fillet of smooth kissing breath, I tie the shadow safe from gliding back, and lay the gift where nothing hindereth. Here on my heart, as on thy brow, to lack no natural heat till mine grows cold in death. 20. Beloved, my beloved, when I think that thou wast in the world a year ago, what time I sat alone here in the snow, and saw no footprint, heard the silence sink, no moment at thy voice, but link by link, went counting all my chains, as if that so they never could fall off at any blow, struck by thy possible hand. Why, thus I drink of life's great cup of wonder, wonderful, never to feel thee thrill the day or night with personal act or speech, nor ever cull some prescience of thee with the blossoms white thou sawest growing. Atheists are as dull, who cannot guess God's presence out of sight. 21. Say over again, and yet once over again, that thou dost love me, though the word repeated should seem a cuckoo song, as thou dost treat it. Remember, never to the hill or plain, valley and wood, without her cuckoo strain, comes the fresh spring in all her grain completed. Beloved, I, amid the darkness greeted by a doubtful spirit voice, in that doubt's pain, cry, speak once more, thou lovest. Who can fear? Too many stars, though each in heaven shall roll, too many flowers, though each shall crown the year. Say thou dost love me, love me, love me, toll the silver iterants, only minding, dear, to love me also in silence with thy soul. 22. When our two souls stand up erect and strong, face to face, silent, drawing nigh and nigher, until the lengthening wings break into fire at either curved point, what bitter wrong can the earth do to us, that we should not long be here contented? Think, in mounting higher, the angels would press on us and aspire to drop some golden orb of perfect song into our deep, dear silence. Let us stay rather on earth, beloved, where the unfit, contrarious moods of men recoil away, and isolate pure spirits, and permit a place to stand and love in for a day, with darkness and the death hour rounding it. 23. Is it indeed so? If I lay here dead, wouldst thou miss any life in losing mine? And would the sun for thee more coldly shine, because of grave damps falling round my head? I marvelled, my beloved, when I read my thought so in the letter, I am thine, but so much to thee. Can I pour thy wine, while my hands tremble? Then my soul, instead of dreams of death, resumes life's lower range. Then love me, love, look on me, breathe on me, as brighter ladies do not count it strange, for love to give up acres and degree. I yield the grave for thy sake, and exchange my near sweet view of heaven for earth with thee. 24. Let thee world's sharpness like a clasping knife shut in upon itself and do no harm in this close hand of love, now soft and warm. And let us hear no sound of human strife after the click of the shutting, life to life. I lean upon thee, dear, without alarm, and feel as safe as guarded by a charm against the stab of worldlings, who, if rife, are weak to injure. Very whitely still the lilies of our lives may reassure their blossoms from their roots, accessible alone to heavenly dews that drop not fewer, growing straight out of man's reach on the hill. God only, who made us rich, can make us poor. 25. A heavy heart, beloved, have I borne from year to year until I saw thy face, and sorrow after sorrow took the place of all those natural joys as lightly worn as these stringed pearls, each lifted in its turn by a beating heart at dance time. Hopes apace were changed to long despairs, till God's own grace could scarcely lift above the world forlorn my heavy heart. Then thou didst bid me bring, and let it drop adown thy calmly great, deep being. Fast it sinketh, as a thing which its own nature doth precipitate, while thine doth close above it, mediating betwixt the stars and the unaccomplished fate. 26. I lived with visions for my company, instead of men and women, years ago, and found them gentle mates, nor thought to know a sweeter music than they played to me. But soon their trailing purple was not free of this world's dust, their lutes did silent grow, and I myself grew faint and blind below their vanishing eyes. Then thou didst come to be, beloved, what they seemed, their shining fronts, their songs, their splendors, better yet the same, as river water hallowed into fonts, met in thee, and from out thee overcame my soul with satisfaction of all wants, because God's gifts put man's best dreams to shame. 27. My own beloved, who hast lifted me from this drear flat of earth where I was thrown, and in betwixt the languid ringlets blown a life breath till the forehead hopefully shines out again, as all the angels see, before thy saving kiss. My own, who camest to me when the world was gone, and I who looked for only God found thee. I find thee, I am safe and strong and glad, as one who stands in dewless asphodel, looks backward on the tedious time he had in the upper life, so I, with bosom swell, make witness here between the good and bad, that love as strong as death retrieves as well. 28. My letters, all dead paper, mute and white, and yet they seem alive and quivering against my tremulous hands which loose the string, and let them drop down on my knee tonight. This said, he wished to have me in his sight, once as a friend, this fixed a day in spring, to come and touch my hand, a simple thing, yet I wept for it. This, the paper's light, said, dear, I love thee, and I sank and quailed, as if God's future thundered on my past. This said, I am thine, and so its ink has paled, with lying at my heart that beat too fast. And this, O love, thy words have ill availed, if what this said I dared repeat at last. 29. I think of thee, my thoughts do twine and bud about thee as wild vines about a tree, put out broad leaves, and soon there's naught to see, except the straggling green which hides the wood. Yet, O my palm tree, be it understood, I will not have my thoughts instead of thee, who art dearer, better. Rather, instantly, renew thy presence, as a strong tree should. Rustle thy boughs and set thy trunk all bare, and let these bands of greenery which ensphere thee drop heavily down, burst, shattered everywhere. Because, in this deep joy to see and hear thee, and breathe within thy shadow a new air, I do not think of thee, I am too near thee. 30. I see thine image through my tears tonight, and yet today I saw thee smiling. How? Refer the cause. Beloved, is it thou, or I, who makes me sad? The acolyte, amid the chanted joy and thankful rite, may so fall flat, with pale insensate brow. On the altar stair, I hear thy voice and bow, perplexed, uncertain, since thou art out of sight. As he in his swooning ears the choir's amen, beloved, dost thou love, or did I see all the glory as I dreamed, and fainted when too vehement light dilated my ideal? For my soul's eyes, will that light come again, as now these tears come, falling hot and real? 31. Thou comest, all is said without a word. I sit beneath thy looks, as children do, in the noon sun, with souls that tremble through their happy eyelids from an unaverred, yet prodigal inward joy. Behold, I erred in that last doubt, and yet I cannot rue the sin most, but the occasion that we two should for a moment stand unministered by a mutual presence. Ah, keep near and close, thou dove-like help, and when my fears would rise, with thy broad heart serenely interpose, brood down with thy divine sufficiencies these thoughts which tremble when bereft of those, like callow birds left desert to the skies. 32. The first time that the sun rose on thine oath to love me, I looked forward to the moon, to slacken all those bonds which seemed too soon, and quickly tied to make a lasting troth. Quick loving hearts, I thought, may quickly loathe, and looking on myself, I seemed not one for such man's love, more like an out of tune, worn viol, A good singer would be wroth to spoil his song with, and which, snatched in haste, is laid down at the first ill-sounding note. I did not wrong myself so, but I placed a wrong on thee, for perfect strains may float 'neath master hands, from instruments defaced, and great souls at one stroke may do and dote. 33. Yes, call me by my pet name, let me hear the name I used to run at when a child, from innocent play, and leave the cowslips piled, to glance up in some face that proved me dear. With the look of its eyes, I missed the clear, fond voices which, being drawn and reconciled into the music of heavens undefiled, call me no longer, silence on the bier, while I call God, so let thy mouth be heir to those who are now exanimate. Gather the north flowers to complete the south, and catch the early love up in the late. Yes, call me by that name, and I in truth, with the same heart, will answer and not wait. 34. With the same heart, I said, I'll answer thee, as those when thou shalt call me by my name. Lo, the vain promise is the same, perplexed and ruffled by life's strategy. When called before, I told how hastily I drop my flowers or break off from a game, to run and answer with the smile that came at play last moment and went on with me through my obedience. When I answer now, I drop a grave thought, break from solitude, yet still my heart goes to thee. Ponder how, not as to a single good, but all my good. Lay thy hand on it, best one, and allow that no child's foot could run fast as this blood. 35. If I leave all for thee, wilt thou exchange, and be all to me? Shall I never miss home talk and blessing and the common kiss that comes to each in turn, nor count it strange when I look up to drop on a new range of walls and floors, another home than this? Nay, wilt thou fill that place by me which is filled by dead eyes too tender to know change? That's hardest. If to conquer love has tried, to conquer grief tries more, as all things prove. For grief indeed is love, and grief beside. Alas, I have grieved so I am hard to love. Yet love me, wilt thou, open thine heart wide, and fold within the wet wings of thy dove. 36. When we met first and loved, I did not build upon the event with marble. Could it mean, to last, a love set pendulous between sorrow and sorrow? Nay, I rather thrilled, distrusting every light that seemed to gild the onward path, and feared to overlean a finger even. And though I have grown serene and strong since then, I think that God has willed a still renewable fear, O love, O truth, lest these enclasped hands should never hold this mutual kiss drop down between us both, as an unknown thing once the lips being cold. And love be false, if he, to keep one oath, must lose one joy by his life's star foretold. 37. Pardon, oh pardon, that my soul should make of all that strong divineness which I know, for thine and thee, an image only so, formed of the sand, and fit to shift and break. It is that distant years which did not take my sovereignty, recoiling with a blow, have forced my swimming brain to undergo their doubt and dread, and blindly to forsake my purity of likeness and distort thy worthiest love to a worthless counterfeit, as if a shipwrecked pagan safe in port, his guardian sea god to commemorate, should set a sculptured porpoise, gills a snort, and vibrant tail, within the temple gate. 38. First time he kissed me, he but only kissed the fingers of this hand wherewith I write, and ever since it grew more clean and white, slow to world greetings, quick with its list, when the angels speak, a ring of amethyst I could not wear here, plainer to my sight, than that first kiss. The second passed in height, the first, and sought the forehead, and half missed, half falling on the hair. Oh, beyond meed, that was the chrism of love, which love's own crown, with sanctifying sweetness, did proceed. The third upon my lips was folded down, in perfect purple state, since when, indeed, I have been proud and said, my love, my own. 39. Because thou hast the power and own'st the grace to look through and behind this mask of me, against which years have beat thus blanchingly with their reins, and behold my soul's true face, the dim and weary witness of life's race, because thou hast the faith and love to see, through that same soul's distracting lethargy, the patient angel waiting for a place in the new heavens, because nor sin nor woe nor God's infliction, nor death's neighborhood, nor all which others viewing turn to go, nor all which makes me tired of all, self-viewed. Nothing repels thee, dearest, teach me so, to pour out gratitude, as thou dost, good. 40. Oh yes, they love through all this world of ours. I will not gainsay love, called love forsooth. I have heard love talked in my early youth, and since, not so long back, but that the flowers, then gathered, smell still. Mussulmans and Giaours throw kerchiefs at a smile, and have no ruth for any weeping. Polypheme's white tooth slips on the nut if, after frequent showers, the shell is over smooth, and not so much will turn the thing called love aside to hate, or else to oblivion. But thou art not such a lover, my beloved. Thou canst wait through sorrow and sickness to bring souls to touch, and think it soon when others cry too late. 41. I thank all who have loved me in their hearts, with thanks and love for mine. Deep thanks to all who paused a little near the prison wall to hear my music in its louder parts, ere they went onward, each one to the marts or temple's occupation beyond call. But thou, who in my voices sink and fall, when thee sob took it, thy divinest arts, own instrument didst drop down at thy foot, to hearken what I said between my tears, instruct me how to thank thee, oh, to shoot my soul's full meaning into future years, that they should lend it utterance and salute love that endures from life that disappears. 42. My future will not copy fair my past. I wrote that once, and thinking at my side, my ministering life angel justified the word by his appealing look upcast. To thee, white throne of God, I turned at last, and there, instead, saw thee, not unallied to angels in thy soul. Then I, long tried, my natural ills received the comfort fast, while budding at thy sight, my pilgrim staff gave out green leaves with morning dews impearled. I seek no copy now of life's first half. Leave here the pages with long musing curled, and write me new my future's epigraph. New angel mine, unhoped for in the world. 43. How do I love thee? Let me count the ways. I love thee to the depth and breadth and height my soul can reach, when feeling out of sight, for the ends of being and ideal grace. I love thee to the level of every day's most quiet need, by sun and candlelight. I love thee freely as men strive for right. I love thee purely as they turn from praise. I love thee with the passion put to use, and my old griefs, and with my childhood's faith. I love thee with a love I seem to lose, with my lost saints. I love thee with the breath, smiles, tears of all my life, and if God choose, I shall but love thee better after death. 44. Beloved, thou hast brought me many flowers, plucked in the garden all the summer through, and winter, and it seemed as if they grew in this close room, nor missed the sun and showers. So, in the like name of that love of ours, take back these thoughts which here unfolded to, and which on warm and cold days I withdrew from my heart's ground. Indeed, those beds and bowers be overgrown with bitter weeds and rue, and wait thy weeding. Yet here's eglantine, here's ivy, take them, as I used to do, my flowers, and keep them where they shall not pine. Instruct thine eyes to keep their colors true, and tell thy soul their roots are left in mine. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
A Stranger Minstrel by Samuel Taylor Coleridge. Read for LibriVox.org by Tim Price on the 9th of January 2026, Kendal, England. As late on Skidder's mount I lay supine, midway th' ascent in that repose divine, when the soul centred in the heart's recess hath quaffed its fill of nature's loveliness, yet still beside the fountain's marge will stay, and fain would thirst again to quaff. Then when the tear, slow travelling on its way, fills up the wrinkles of a silent laugh, in that sweet mood of sad and humorous thought, a form within me rose, within me wrought, with such strong magic that I cried aloud, thou ancient skidder, by thy helm of cloud, and by thy many coloured chasms deep, and by their shadows that for ever sleep, by yon small flaky mist that love to creep along the edges of those spots of light, those sunny islands on thy smooth green height, and by young shepherds with their sheep, and dogs and boys, a gladsome crowd, that rush in now with clamour loud, sudden from forth thy topmost cloud, and by this laugh and by this tear, I would, old skidder, she were here. A lady of sweet song is she, her soft blue eye was made for thee. O ancient skidder, by this tear, I would that she were here. Then ancient skidder, stern and proud, in sullen majesty replying, thus spake from out his helm of cloud, his voice was like an echo dying. She dwells belike in scenes more fair, and scorns a mount so bleak and bare. I only sighed when this I heard, such mournful thoughts within me stirred, that all my heart was faint and weak, so sorely was I troubled. No laughter wrinkled on my cheek, but oh, the tears were doubled. But ancient skidder green and high heard and understood my sigh, and now, in tones less stern and rude, as if he wished to end the feud, spake he, the proud response renewing, his voice was like a monarch wooing. Nay, but thou dost not know her might, the pinions of her soul how strong, but many a stranger in my height hath sung to me her magic song, sending forth his ecstasy in her divinest melody, and hence I know her soul is free, she is where'er she wills to be, unfettered by morality. Now to the haunted beach can fly, beside the threshold scourged with waves, now where the maniac wildly raves. Pale moon, thou spectre of the sky, no wind that hurries o'er my height can travel with so swift a flight. I too, methinks, might merit the presence of her spirit. To me too might belong the honour of her song and witching melody, which most resembles me, soft, various and sublime, exempt from wrongs of time. Thus spake the mighty mount, and I made answer with a deep-drawn sigh. Thou ancient skidder, by this tear, I would that she were here. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
To a Buddha Seated on a Lotus by Sarojini Naidu. Read for LibriVox.org by LakshV. Lord Buddha, on thy lotus throne, with praying eyes and hands elate, what mystic rapture dost thou own, immutable and ultimate? What peace, unravished of our ken, annihilate from the world of men? The wind of change forever blows across the tumult of our way. Tomorrow's unborn griefs depose the sorrows of our yesterday. Dream yields to dream, strife follows strife, and death unweaves the webs of life. For us the travail and the heat, the broken secrets of our pride, the strenuous lessons of defeat, the flower deferred, the fruit denied, but not the peace supremely won, Lord Buddha of thy lotus throne. With futile hands we seek to gain our inaccessible desire, diviner summits to attain, with faith that sinks and feet that tire. But naught shall conquer or control the heavenward hunger of our soul. The end, elusive and afar, still lures us with its beckoning flight, and all our mortal moments are a session of the infinite. How shall we reach the great unknown nirvana of thy lotus throne? End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
To a Mouse by Robert Burns. Read for LibriVox.org by Ike Sherr. On turning up to her nest with the plough, November 1785. Wee sleek cowering timorous beastie, oh what a panic in thy breastie! Thou need no start a war so hasty with bickering brattle. I would be laith to rin and chase thee with murdering pattle. I'm truly sorry man's dominion has broken nature's social union, and justifies that ill opinion which makes thee startle at me, thy poor earth-bound companion and fellow mortal. I don't know whiles, but thou may thieve, what then, poor beastie? Thou maun live. A Damien icker in a thrave's a small request. I'll get a blessing with the lave and never missed. Thy wee bit housey too, in ruin. It silly was the winds are strewing, and naething now to beg a new one of fogage green, and bleak December's winds ensuing, baith snell and keen. Though so the fields laid bare and waste, and weary winter coming fast, and cosy here beneath the blast thou thought to dwell, till crash, the cruel coulter passed out through thy cell. That wee bit heap o' leaves and stibble has cost thee many a weary nibble. Now thou's turned out for all thy trouble, but house or hold, to thole the winter's sleety dribble and cranrach cold. But Mousie, thou art not thy lane in proving foresight may be vain. The best laid schemes o' mice and men gang after glee, and leave us naught but grief and pain for promised joy. Still, thou art blessed compared with me. The present only toucheth thee, but I backward cast my ee on prospects drear, and forward, though I canna see, I guess and fear. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. To the Virgins to Make Much of Time by Robert Herrick. Read for LibriVox.org by Ike Sherr. Gather ye rosebuds while ye may, old time is still a-flying, and this same flower that smiles today, tomorrow will be dying. The glorious lamp of heaven, the sun, the higher he is a-getting, the sooner will his race be run, and nearer he is to setting. That age is best, which is the first, when youth and blood are warmer. But being spent, the worse and worst times still succeed the former. Then be not coy, but use your time, and while ye may, go, marry. For having lost but once your prime, you may for ever tarry. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Way Through the Woods by Rudyard Kipling. Read for LibriVox.org by Winston Tharp. They shut the road through the woods 70 years ago. Weather and rain have undone it again, and now you would never know there was once a road through the woods before they planted the trees. It is underneath the coppice and heath and the thin anemones. Only the keeper sees that where the ringdove broods and the badgers roll at ease, there was once a road through the woods. Yet if you enter the woods of a summer evening late, when the night air cools on the trout-ringed pools, where the otter whistles his mate, They fear not men in the woods because they see so few. You will hear the beat of a horse's feet and the swish of a skirt in the dew, steadily cantering through the misty solitudes, as though they perfectly knew the old lost road through the woods. But there is no road through the woods. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Wherefore, by Ella Wheeler Wilcox. Read for LibriVox.org by Theo Douglas. Seattle, Washington, January 2026. Wherefore in dreams are sorrows born anew, a healed wound opened, or the past revived? Last night in my deep sleep I dreamed of you. Again the old love woke in me and thrived, on looks of fire and kisses and sweet words, like silver waters purling in a stream, or like the amorous melodies of birds. A dream, a dream. Again, upon the glory of the scene, there settled that dread shadow of the cross, that, when hearts love too well, falls in between, that warns them of impending woe and loss. Again I saw you drifting from my life, as sparks are rudely parted in a stream. Again my heart was torn with awful strife. A dream, a dream. Again the deep night settled on me there. Alone I groped, and heard strange waters roll, lost in that blackness of supreme despair that comes but once to any living soul. Alone, afraid, I called your name aloud. Mine eyes, unveiled, beheld white stars agleam, and lo, awake I cried, thank God, a dream, a dream. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
"21" by E. E. Cummings. Read for LibriVox.org by loubet. I was sitting in McSorley's. Outside it was New York, and beautifully snowing. Inside, snug and evil. The slobbering walls filthily push witless creases of screaming warmth, chuck pillows are noise, funnily swallows, swallowing, revolvingly pompous. The swallowed model with smooth or a butt of rapidly goes gobs the and of flex. Of and a chatter, sobbings intersect with which distinct discs of graceful oath, upsoarings the break on, ceiling flatness. The bar, tinking luscious jigs dint of ripe silver with warmly-ish wet flat splurging. Smells, waltz the glush of squirting taps, plus slush of foam knocked off and a faint piddle of drops. She says I pluck, spittle. What the land's tha's me, kid, in no sir hopping sawdust. You, kiddo, he's a palping wreaths of badly. Yep, cigars. Who, Jim? Him. Why, Gluey. Grins topple together, eyes pout, gestures stickily point made, glints squinting. Who's a wink? Bum nothing and money fuzzily mouths take big wobbly footsteps. Every goggle scent of it, get out ears, dribbles soft right, old feller, belch, the chap, hick some more, chuckles, skulch. And I was sitting in the din, thinking, drinking the ale, which never lets you grow old, blinking at the low ceiling. My being pleasantly was punctuated by the always retchings of a worthless lamp. When with a minute tariff, ice fortone, dirty squeal of soiling light, yanking from bushy obscurity a bald greenish fetal head, established it suddenly upon the huge neck around whose unwashed sonorous muscle The filth of a collar hung gently, spattered by this instant of semi-luminous nausea. A vast, wordless, nondescript genie of trunk trickled firmly into one exactly mutilated ghost of a chair. A dome-shaped interval of complete plasticity. Shoulders sprouted the extraordinary arms through an angle of ridiculous velocity, commenting upon an unclean table, and whose distended immense both paws slowly loved a dinted mug. Gone darkness. It was so near to me. I ask of shadow, won't you have a drink? The eternal, perpetual question. Inside, snug and evil, I was sitting in McSorley's. It did not answer. Outside, it was New York and beautifully snowing. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Youth by Frank Horn. Read for LibriVox.org by Winston Tharp. I am a knotted nebula, a whirling flame shrieking afire the endless darkness. I am the eternal center of gravity, and about me swing the crazy moons. I am the thunder of rising suns, the blaze of the zenith, the tremble of women's bodies in the arms of lovers. I sit on top of the pole, drunk with starry splendor, shouting hosannas at the Pleiades, booting footballs at the moon. I shall outlast the sun and the moon and the stars. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.